lawsuit that has just been filed over here at the Horry County Courthouse against the Horry County Police Department and Randy Webster, a former Deputy County Administrator, is that the way it's stated? All right, and we are here with our clients, two individuals that we are incredibly proud not only to represent, but to stand next to. To my right is former Horry County Public Information Officer Mikayla Moskov. Am I saying that right? And over here to my left is a name we'll probably all need to learn how to pronounce. This is former Horry County Police Investigator in the Behavioral Services Unit, Kelsey, Manemeit. Did I get that right? All right. We are incredibly proud to represent these two young women in their lawsuit and quest for justice and transparency. I'm going to keep hearing that word transparency around town until somebody actually shows you what that is. And that's what we're actually going to do here today, is we're actually going to be transparent and not issue a press release at 6 o'clock saying we're going to file a lawsuit. We got retained and we brought you guys here and we're here to answer questions. All right? And we know that the other side has already started their little media journey. They went on WBDW on Monday, and the chief went on there and said some really fascinating things. For an attorney, it was quite interesting to listen to, and we'll get into that in a second. But what we're doing here today, and I get a little bit animated, I get a little bit heated, but this is serious. And there are serious consequences when government officials step over the line in an effort to quell the speech or the whistleblowing activities of individuals who are lower than they are on the totem pole, who they believe don't have the energy and or ability or network to fight back. That's what Horry County's counted on for decades. I went to high school right down the road. We've seen it all before. And it's still going on in 2025. I don't care if there's a new chief in office. I don't care if there's a new county or a new deputy administrator coming down the line. It's still going on. And what happened here is, I've used several words to describe this, but it's appalling what took place. And now let's get into it a little bit, okay? So Chief Lionheart, did I say that right? Lionheart, L-Y-I-N-G, Lionheart. Chief Lionheart goes on the news on Monday night and says that these individuals were fired because we have to uphold trust and transparency. They violated trust. Okay, I want y'all to remember that throughout the course of my discussion on the allegations, they were fired for violating somebody's trust. Whose trust that is, let's have a conversation about that, okay? Press release gets issued on Friday at 6 p.m. of last week. Now, for most individuals, we are just dying for transparency from Horry County government. And when they finally release, without Charles Perry and all of you guys having to kick down the door saying, why hasn't my FOIA been responded to? Without Manemeit and Liz Farrell going, what is going on with our stuff that we're asking about in concerning the Weldon Boyd case? Instead, 3 days after they forced these young women and the other individuals involved to resign, forced to resign or be terminated, the words of the chief on WPDE, 3 days later they issue a press release on Friday afternoon at 6 p.m. So there'll be no conversations over the weekend. Hopefully it just dies down. But at the end of the day, it just feels like there's transparency finally coming from somewhere in Horry County government. And we all took the bait. Even I took the bait. I mean, I'm a civil rights guy. I was like, man, it's firing police officers? I guess I can get behind that around here. Somebody needs to do something. And that was the entire ploy of this distraction that took place on Friday afternoon. And it worked. I've already apologized to both Mikayla and Kelsey, because in my mind, I was like, they're great, they're being transparent. But then I got it, and then I started looking at the facts a little bit, just like you guys did. And I started getting phone calls, and all of a sudden, these individuals get referred to my office, and I am blown away. What I'm about to tell you, I can't believe that I'm hearing this as an attorney. Because there are attorneys advising these people. But I want you to remember, during whatever it is I'm about to tell you, this is exactly what we're going to allege in the lawsuit that was filed today. Okay? Now, this all started in 2021. when Kelsey and her then husband moved in across the street from Randy Webster. For those of you who don't know who Randy Webster is, Randy Webster, his name is on the building of an Horry County, I think it's the, I never could get this thing right, but it's basically like the community services building in Horry County. And his name's on the building, and she moves in directly across the street with him with her husband. And meets him. Randy Webster, oh my God, I'm a police officer with Conway PD. It's really great to meet you. I'm excited. Love to have conversations with you about behavioral health. It's what I care about most. Love to have conversations with you about the police department. I'm in this. I want to be a police officer. This has been my dream since I was young, and I'd like to talk to you about it every now and then. But her husband lived there, so Randy kept it under control for the time being. Until Kelsey finds out, you guys have all seen her court records, that her husband had committed adultery against her. Everybody got that? Kelsey finds out that her husband committed adultery against her. An Horry County police officer committed adultery against her. Now, 60% of all marriages end in divorce. I don't like to talk about other people's personal lives, but that's why we're here. So unfortunately, we got to talk about all the facts. This was in March of this year that Kelsey files for divorce. You guys ready for the dates? March of this year she files for divorce. Okay? Shortly after that, Randy Webster starts to realize we've got a single mom of 3 living alone on a single household income now. And she's devastated. Like all mothers who face this situation, and they're forced to dissolve the family and all the security that she had financially or otherwise, and she confides in Randy Webster. And you know what he says? I think I have the solution to your problem, because I'm getting a lot of leeway with this behavioral services unit that we're creating with Horry County. Some might even say, some have said in comments and otherwise, that this entire unit was, once it was starting to get created, at the inception, Randy Webster thought, I got just the person to work right underneath me in my building. So he offers her a job, making a lot more money. And here she is, her whole world's falling apart, she's going through a divorce, and she takes it from a guy whose name's on the building and says, okay, something's going right. And she starts work with him in May of this year, okay? May of this year. March filed for divorce, starts working with her across the street neighbor in May of this year. Immediately, the harassment begins. No longer a neighbor, no longer married, now it's time for Randy to cut loose. And I apologize because I never read, but I have to get some of these text messages right. These text messages took place over the course of 5 months. She was only under his employment and under his supervision and under his direction for 5 months. This guy was in some sort of form, in a supervisory role or otherwise at Horry County Police Department for 37 years. He did this to her for 5 months. He told her that he dreamed about her. Now, there are only 3 people in her unit. He handpicked all 3 of them. From what we understand, all 3 of them were young females. And he said, you're going to work right next to me in my building, you're going to accompany me to my meetings, and you are going to be my closest confidant. Right? Right away. Right away. What was that for her? You okay? Was that what you just did there? All right. So right away, he says, I'm dreaming about you. He asks her, do you find me desirable? This was within 60 days of her working for him. He begins kissing her on her cheek, in addition to hugging her. She pulls away from the kisses on the cheek. And the reason we know this is because she texts him, let's keep it professional, cool it with some of this stuff. And he acknowledges, I'm sorry I crossed the line. These are in the text messages. We're not making this up. The guy knew that she was uncomfortable. He apologizes to her and actually says in a text message, I dreamed about you and we were swimming together in a creek, and now I can't focus on work. And when he approached her about the text message, the understanding was that they were scantily clad, little bit of clothing on. Single mom, going through a divorce. She's got one supervisor now whose name's on the building. She tells him, makes me feel like he sees me naked all day long. Or she makes that context in there and starts having to leave work early. He says, don't pull away from me on the personal side. I'll keep it professional while we're at work, but I need this personal relationship because you're helping me get through what I'm going through, and I'm helping you get through what you're going through. Now, I'm in the mental health field. If this starts to feel like grooming to you, that's exactly what's taking place. Now, this continues on in the barrage of text messages, and I've got like 30 of them here. I'm just handpicking a few of them to read to you. Over the course of 5 months, she's pleading with him in these messages and in person. Please stop. I love this job. Please keep it professional. This is my dream to be working here. She did everything she could. And she even told her supervisor, because she wasn't number one rank under Randy Webster in the Behavioral Services Unit. She tells her supervisor about what's going on, and nothing happens. Right? Normally they just come in my office after that and they say, hey, I got something going on, and that takes a lot of bravery. Y'all ready for courage? This young lady goes in to HR on October 16th of this year, a few weeks ago, and sits down with 2 members of the HR department and starts reading the text messages. It is, and one of them there is transcribing it. It is 4 single-spaced pages. It looks like 10 size font Times New Roman. This is the most I've read in a long time. And it was 5 months. I'm sitting there reading this stuff, and I'm going, this was over 5 months? You had 4 pages of this nastiness? And she does something that I can only dream about having the confidence to do. Standing up to authority when you don't have cameras in front of you, and you don't have a law degree, and you don't have a big network. I don't think I could have done it, even today. I'm here, and I'm not afraid because I got you guys, and Charles Perry, and Mandy Matney. I got friends in the high places. And I still get a little worried about this Randy Webster guy. I've had people message me, be careful about Randy Webster. She goes in, spills her heart out, October 16th. October 17th, Randy Webster tells Barry Spivey, I'm resigning. Let me say that again. October 17th, the day after she delivers a 4-page, single-spaced verbal complaint, Randy Webster tells Barry Spivey, I'm retiring. 37 years, that's the day he picks. Okay? On October 20, I can get these right, on October 27, I know you guys love these dates. On October 27th, she finds out there's an internal affairs investigation, and on October 28th, she gets called in. And it's finally time for her to talk about what happened with Randy. It's finally time for her to stand up for all the other women that are being ostracized and marginalized in positions around Horry County and other good old boy areas of the country. It's finally time. And she sits down, and they immediately look at her and go, who have you been having sex with in the Horry County Police Department? That's what they said to her. At the IA she thought she was going to, because she reported that Randy Webster was sexually harassing her and wouldn't stop. Make no mistake about it, that's what the claim was. Next thing we know, she is having to disclose her personal life that she is sort of to piece together after her divorce began in March. Now remember, her husband's issue was adultery. He had a new girlfriend. According to Kelsey, he was already dating somebody else. I shouldn't even have to say that. Who cares what he's doing now? They separated. I feel horrible that the marriage is dissolving. But now you move on. Nothing illegal is taking place. But they want to know, who have you been dating? Who have you been having sex with? Those are the words. And she tells them, I went on a few dates with the Dom guy a few months. What's his name? Did I get it right? I went on a few dates with the Dom guy after my divorce, and that didn't work out, because guess what? This was the first time she had dated in years. She's got 3 kids. She was just trying it out. It didn't work out with Dom. No big deal. So now she's got Tori. Which part? When was the time period on that? I'm getting these dates right. Prior to. Okay. Yes. No problem. I'm getting the dates right. We're all getting them right. All right. So now she's with Tori, right? Huh? You good? Now she's with Tori, and they're dating. They're open about it. Everything's okay. People in the police department know about it. They're not hiding anything. As a matter of fact, they even told the chief about it at one point. And lo and behold, they're like, this relationship that you have with Tori must be causing some sort of issues because your husband is on the same team as Tori. And that's when they start to make the targeted, I would call it a sex scandal, but a targeted smear campaign against Kelsey Manemeit, so that when the claims against Randy Webster came to surface, that her credibility would be smeared. And it's like this old trick, the old, the witch hunts from like the 1930s, like, oh, if we just say that the woman's unchaste and she's sleeping around, nobody will believe her. She's a terrible person. And read some of the comments on y'all's media outlets. They say that. Well, she should have been sleeping around. She got what she deserved. That was what they wanted to take place, and it worked. Now, during this entire time period, Mikayla, without even talking with Kelsey, starts complaining that she's noticing Kelsey feeling uncomfortable, and she feels as though the relationship between Randy Webster and the individuals, the females in the behavioral services unit, is looking bad for Horry County Police, and it's bad optics. Those are the words that she kept using to her bosses, to Barry Spivey, to the county administrator, to multiple other individuals. She even told Randy Webster, this looks bad. The back rubs, the long car rides, the scheduling random meetings to be alone with Kelsey, this looks bad. And he responds and says, I've been doing this long enough, I don't care. Her IA was at the end of October. She gets called in November 3rd. And again, she's like, here we go. We're going to talk about the complaints that I made against Randy Webster. Something's going to be done here. Because after Randy Webster resigned, she was the one fielding the calls from the community going, is this having anything to do with sexual harassment? There was always smoke out there. So she approaches her supervisors and says, what do I say about this? And they say it was because of medical reasons. So when she goes in on November 3rd, she's like, maybe this is about Randy Webster. And she sits down, and what do they say? Who have you been having sex with in the Horry County Police Department? 3 days later, on November 6th, they were called in by superiors in the Horry County Police Department, and to quote Chief Lionheart on WBTW, let me get it right, on WBTW, they resigned but they knew that if they didn't resign, we were going to fire them. He said that on the news to you. I mean, it's like they didn't even ask a lawyer. It's like they don't even care. But we're going to make them care today, right? So let's back up a little bit. The allegations that were made in the press release that was issued this past Friday were that they were creating an unharmonious work environment and that they were terminated, well, that they resigned, which was actually a forced resignation and a termination. They resigned because of our policy on being truthful and transparent at the Horry County Police Department, right? Truthful and transparent, okay? First and foremost, even if all the allegations are true against these individuals, no laws were broken, no code of conduct was broken, nothing. Everything was consensual if it happened, and everything was off duty, which they admitted on WBTW on Monday night. None of this stuff happened at work. Everybody consented. Nobody was really complaining about anything. No relationships overlapped with each other. There was no orgy going on like the press release kind of alludes to. None of that. Consenting adults. And one of my favorite things is once we start, pushing back and we start standing up for these young ladies, once we start pushing back, you guys are like, whew, probably should have printed that, and you go out and do some digging. So the Sun News, where's Sun News? Sun News writes an article today where they contacted criminologist experts and professors and asked, is it normal to terminate a police officer for misconduct, for any kind of personal relationship that they're having off duty? And it said no. Criminologists said, I've never heard of such a thing. Never heard of such a thing. Another thing that was pointed out is how rapid this IA went through and how quickly they not only got fired, but got plastered all over the media. Another thing that is not status quo. But the truth is, there were allegations made against Randy Webster before he resigned. He told Charles Perry of the Post and Courier, I had no idea that there was a sexual discrimination or harassment claim laid against me when I resigned. But then somebody at the county who responded to Charles after several days says, no, he knew about it. Literally. Go read the article from the Post and Courier. They say, no, he knew about it. He resigned in the middle of the investigation before it was concluded. So I guess Randy Webster wasn't being truthful there and had been fired and smeared all over because he lied to the media and said he didn't know about any sexual harassment or discrimination claims. Although he has a multitude of texts from Kelsey saying, you're acting unprofessional, let's keep it professional, stop doing this. She tells him in person. Mikayla tells Randy Webster to his face, these are bad optics. He knows that there are people around complaining that he is crossing a line with his subordinates. And yet, he still says, I retired medically. And then he issues an email to all, I'm assuming that's to all of the people in his office, saying it's been a really great 37 years, I'm just really tired, and it just weighs on me, and you need to take care of your mental health, and which I agree with. But he leaves out the part where his mental health is probably plummeting because he was harassing somebody who had the courage to stand up. So what really happened? They smeared the victim and the witness. They smeared the victim and the witness. So that when the allegations came to light, because they had to know they were coming to light, everybody sent in FOIAs and FOIAs and FOIAs. They knew the allegations were going to come to light. And so what they do, let's go back to the 1930s and ask them about their sex lives and hope that we can get something on them. And then they said, we are terminating them because they're not truthful. Let me ask you something. Who are they not being truthful to? Who are they not being truthful to? Kelsey to Don? No. Don, oh my God. I'm sorry. Is that why you keep saying? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, all right, Dawn, I apologize. Kelsey wasn't being distruthful to Dawn. She wasn't being distruthful to her ex-husband when she filed for divorce, pretty transparent. Wasn't being distruthful to Tori. Wasn't being distruthful to the police department. She went in voluntarily and told them we're having a relationship. So who is she not being truthful to? That's why they put the marriage thing in that press release. That's why they put that Kelsey's married and Mikayla's married. Because we all hate an adulterer who's not being truthful to that poor spouse who's at home just taking care of the kids. And that's the way it worded, and that's what they wanted you all to believe. That she was not being truthful, I'm assuming, to her ex-husband, who she was filed for divorce from. Never asked Mikayla, did you talk to your husband about any issues you've ever had at work, any flirting, anything like that? No. Because they didn't need that. They had enough in their smear campaign loaded to fire off that weird 2-paragraph press release, and the damage had been done. And the damage had been done. I got a lot more of these text messages and comments and quotes, but I want to see Tristan Schaefer filed the lawsuit earlier today. He's going to tell you the causes of action real quickly, and I'm going to take any questions that you guys may have.